pleased to see you.
There must be some part of you still in there.
Welcome back to another video where I'll be discussing the second season of ARCANE. With the story reaching its conclusion, I can't help feeling like there's still so much potential for Violet, Jinx, and their allies to continue their adventures. Now that the final season has concluded, I think it would be the perfect time to explain the ending of ARCANE before explaining what the story could become if the series received a third season.
I think I'm just gonna sit here a minute, catch my breath.
The finale episode, The Dirt Under Your Nails, opens with Jinx, who has returned to Zaun after her final conversation with Violet, leaving her sister locked within the cells. It was clear from the previous episode that she is mourning the loss of Isha, who brought new meaning and clarity to her life. Jinx tries to erase all evidence from her life in Zaun, purposefully burning down all the locations that held emotional significance to her. Afterward, she stands with a handmade bomb, like the one that took Vander from her in the first place, changing the course of her life forever. She pulls the pin, but her death is prevented by Echo, who has returned from his alternate reality. He uses his new Hextech machine to create time loops, searching for the right words that will prevent Jinx's death. It seems that after spending time with Powder, he is the only person in the Undercity capable of helping Jinx in those final moments. Meanwhile, Jace holds a meeting with what remains of Piltover's council, Caitlyn and Violet. They discuss the upcoming threat and how Victor poses a significant threat by joining forces with Mbessa. Despite their poor odds, they dedicate themselves to stopping their enemy and saving the world, no matter the cost. The episode then cuts to the final battle, where the season's different stories converge for the narrative's conclusion. The battle jumps between perspectives, ensuring the stakes are higher than ever before. We witness as Vi tries in vain to save a dying member of the Undercity, Caitlyn attempts to assassinate Mbessa, and the Noxian soldiers overrun the resistance in Piltover, all while the transformed Warwick drags what appears to be Victor. As Mbessa's forces begin to overtake the resistance in Piltover, three main stories break off to create a satisfying ending for ARCANE. The first story I'll discuss is the battle between Mbessa, Caitlyn, and Mel. Mbessa has spent the entire season weaving an intricate web in Piltover, gaining allies and influence in the wake of her daughter's absence.
Desperation is the doorway to oblivion, child.
Caitlyn became one of her pawns as Mbessa honed her pain over losing her mother and Violet into a deadly weapon. With the help of Violet, Caitlyn came to understand how Mbessa used her and is eager to amend for her mistakes. Although she's caught between a rock and a hard place, Caitlyn doesn't hesitate to attack Maddie, her former lover, to chance a surprise attack against Mbessa. Mel, who joined the fight against her mother, protects Caitlyn from a killing blow with her newfound control of the ARCANE. Maddie dies as a result, but without a threat breathing down her neck, Caitlyn challenges Mbessa to a one-on-one fight, a callback to the training she had lost a few episodes prior. Mel does all she can to protect Caitlyn during their sparring match, but Caitlyn leaves the fight with substantial injuries, including a blade to the abdomen and one to her eye. However, Mbessa's story got entangled with Mel's, her fateful child with mage blood. Although Mbessa had done everything in her power to hide Mel from the Black Rose and her connection to the ARCANE, Mel was exposed to her true power during her captivity, making her a frightful force on the battlefield. To prevent her mother from seizing Piltover entirely, she hands Mbessa over to the Black Rose and her fellow sorceress. Yet she tries to save Mbessa at the last second, stepping into the Black Rose's prison and seizing control. Unfortunately, the sorceress had already succeeded in killing Mbessa, costing Mel another family member in Mbessa's quest for power. The next component of the battle concerns Violet, Jinx, and the recently evolved Warwick, who has lost all traces of Vander and his connection to his daughters. It's around this time in the battle when Vi and the Piltover enforcers become overwhelmed, with many of them being backed into a tower without a means of escape. Fortunately, Jinx uses a new invention, a hot air balloon, to come to their rescue. With help from Echo, she decides to use her powers for good, bringing more allies from Zaun to aid in the fight. Jinx shoots down enemies from the hot air balloon while Echo provides tactical support in the skies, until Warwick makes Jinx his primary target.
Still don't get it, huh, sis? I'm always with you. Even when we're worlds apart.
Vi and Echo come to Jinx's aid, rushing to the balloon to stop Warwick from delivering a killing blow. Unfortunately, the balloon is popped in the chaos, sending the group crashing into a building where they lay unconscious. When Vi finally awakes, she finds Jinx trapped beneath debris and rushes to rescue her. They stand back to back as they await the next attack from Warwick, ready to put their father to rest once and for all. They do all they can to defeat him, but in his evolved state, he is resilient and quick on his feet, making him a difficult opponent. Their fight is intercepted midway by Victor, who uses his abilities to connect to the subconscious minds of everyone in Piltover. Events between Jace and Victor transpire in this time, but I'll jump ahead to recap the conclusion of Vi and Jinx's story first. Once the sisters regain control of their bodies, they fall a few feet into an unstable portion of the building, with Vi and Warwick lying on a breaking platform. Jinx watches in horror as Vi kneels at Warwick's side, reliving the memories of losing Vander. As she tells her father goodbye one last time, Warwick launches an attack against Vi, but he's intercepted by Jinx, who throws herself and Warwick off the platform. Vi grabs her sister's hand in the nick of time, but with Warwick hanging from her waist, Jinx depowers Vi's gauntlets, forcing her to let go. As a result, Vi can only watch as Jinx and Warwick fall hundreds of feet. Before they hit the bottom, Jinx takes her bomb from her pocket and pulls the pin, taking Warwick out with her. During the battle, Victor had started to turn the tide in his favor with his evolved soldiers. However, he doesn't fight with Piltover's forces himself, as he goes directly to the Hex Gate to meet with Jace. The former partners discuss their goals and their diverging paths. Jace tries to depower the Hex Gate, but Victor is powerful enough to undo his work with a wave of his hand. The pair fight when Jace fails to reason with Victor, which ultimately leads to Victor connecting to the subconscious minds of everyone in Piltover, including Jace. Inside the arcane mindscape, Jace and Victor continue their conversation. While Victor claims that his goals will end humanity's conflicts, Jace claims that their imperfections are what make them human and don't need to be fixed. Meanwhile, Echo rushes to Victor's physical body, using his time loops to get in close, causing physical harm to Victor and forcing him to see some clarity. His mask shatters within the mindscape, allowing Jace to reach the old Victor. Jace shows Victor his memories from the alternate world, showing what would become of their world if Victor succeeds. Victor from the alternate world had told Jace how their fates were intertwined, and that Jace was the only person who could show him the truth. Destined to save the world together, they use the rune Jace carries to stop the Hextech and free everyone from Victor's control, yet they disappear, sacrificing their lives for the greater good. The episode provides a brief aftermath of the battle of the few characters who remain. We witness each try to cope with their losses and move forward. Mel appears wearing Noxian armor while grieving her mother. Piltover receives a new council, including the people of Zaun, to help govern their city, and Caitlin updates her family's archives before finding Violet. After the couple promises to stay together, the episode ends as a blimp flies into the distance.
You've always wanted to cure what you thought were weaknesses. Your leg.
The ending of Arcane was bittersweet, as it brought sad ends to many of the characters. Of those who still remain, I would love to see their journeys continue during a third season. From the final scenes of the episode, the groundwork has already been put in place for an extended narrative. For starters, we would need to see the aftermath of the war. Piltover and Zaun would need to rebuild after months of infighting, especially after losing their technological innovations like Hextech. Fortunately, the season showed us that the cities were capable of thriving without magic, as shown in Echo's alternative future. With the new council, including people from both cities, the aftermath of the war could result in a peaceful, cooperative existence that many of the characters had always dreamed of. The third season would also need to focus on personal narratives. Many of the remaining characters lost important people in their lives and would need to cope with those losses. At the same time, they would each have pivotal roles to play in rebuilding the city. Caitlin could remain the leader of the Enforcers or become a council member like her mother, leading Piltover into a better tomorrow. Echo could remain inspired by Jinx and the alternative future, striving to make Zaun into a place where people could thrive. Mel could step into her birthright, either by honing her connection to the Arcane or returning to Noxus. Violet's story is the one left uncharted, as she no longer has a family to fight for, but all of her suffering has given her a chance to have a peaceful life with the one she loves, where she can discover a new purpose.
Singing.
It's just a tune my mother used to hum.
I'm sad to see such a brilliant story come to an end. Arcane is one of the most ambitious animated series to premiere a new season this year, as it tested the limits of duty, loyalty, and sacrifice. The final episode had me on the edge of my seat as each plot point came together to conclude the narrative, including some truly devastating moments. While I believe Arcane ended in a good place, I wouldn't turn down a third season, exploring the aftermath of the chaos and the fates of those who remain.
When your mind is open, Jace.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications to stay updated on our uploads.
Stop this insanity, Victor.
That is precisely my intention.